And I videoed this entire journey throughout these last 4 years of all the interviews that I've talked about this deer and hunts. And I actually was filming that the opening day, and the homeowner had walked up and I was talking to him, and you can hear me talking about trimming this tree and setting up on this deer, that the thermal switch and how thermals change. So that day, that the way that deer was coming, he had the wind. The wind was in his favor of where I set up. Yeah. But my thermals, how the curvature of this property sets up, my thermals were pulling back.
Welcome back to Hunt the Season. This one here, I sat down with Hank Gibson to hear the story about his 200-inch private land buck. This one here was shot on 4 acres. Yes, 4 acres of private land that he got access to back in 2020, 2021 timeframe. We dive into the full story, man. We dive into the full story about how he was able to get access to the property, how he was able to really the whole process behind being able to finally put an arrow through this buck. So it was a really, really fun chat with Hank. Really hope you guys enjoy this episode. Why is my camera not focusing here? Focus on me. There we go. But it was really fun chat with him. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. And hopefully you had some good luck in our season. We still got a week left in our season here in Pennsylvania. But I am going back out on the 19th, which is this episode drops on the 20th. So I'm going out the 19th, going to try and set up in a bedding area, trying to get more aggressive to set up in this bedding area here. It's going to be hard access. I don't know if I'm going to wait till kind of like first light to get in there, or if I'm going to wait, or if I'm going to go risk it and go in there in dark. Really not sure yet, but I know I'm going to be aggressive. The wind's going to be good for me right now, and then it's going to shift to a west wind, which is still going to work for me. With where they're at, it's thick cover. They're cruising. It's a micro drainage as well on the side hill. So it's going to be up close and personal with them, which is what I feel that I need to do right now. Be up close and personal. Just watch out for twigs and sticks and all that kind of stuff. But I know back in the summertime, I checked the camera once in July, I think. Had some good buck on camera. Good doe too, so there's definitely doe bedding in the area. And in the postseason scouting last year, in I believe it was March timeframe, I went in there on a rainy day and jumped 4 buck out of this bedding area that's below where I'm at. There's water source in there, there's food sources in there. I mean, they really have no reason to get out of there unless they're bumped. So I'm going to try and get in there as quietly and quickly as possible, set up my stand in the 0.5, all that kind of stuff, and then do that. And then I might make a trip up to Potter County for a day. I'm really debating it because the area that I found when I was tracking the buck, when we were tracking the buck to see where it went, it's a dynamite area. There's laurel in there. There's a lot of feeding sign. There's lots of oaks. There's massive scrapes. So I might go up there and just check it out and just do it and throw a sit at it and just see what happens. Because it looks like on Thursday it's supposed to rain or snow, I believe it is. I think it's snow. It's going to snow and then change to rain. So I will gladly sit up there in the snow in this area because it is I think if you get one back there, it's going to be a big buck or a doe because I have a doe tag too. But I kind of want to save that. Could possibly go up there for a rifle with Ethan, his dad, and my dad, if we can make it work on the last weekend there. And if I have a buck tag for rifle season up there, let's go for it. But right now I'm trying to also plan for my rifle of where I want to actually set up at. I have a few areas in mind. Just want to get to the steepest, nastiest terrain possible and just set up around that where people have to access. I'm going to take the hardest way in to get there. I might take my stand with me. If I don't hunt my stand, that's whatever. It's just one of those things that if I take it with me, better to have it than not have it. So that is what it is. Once again, really enjoyed talking to Hank on this episode. Him and his son actually went out to Missouri. His son was able to, for the youth rifle season out there, his son was able to harvest a beautiful buck. So I'm very happy about that. And just hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Make sure you go check out their Instagram account. It's Hank and Wyatt Outdoors. It'll be tagged in the description of this as well. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for the support. Remember to go like, subscribe on YouTube. Also give us a rating, review on Apple or Spotify. It really helps us. See you guys. Thank you.
You know, sometimes it's not all about getting something down. I mean, you guys didn't get anything down. So it was like,
no, I mean, honestly, I didn't even see a deer.
Yeah.
And him and I hunted together quite a bit. He ended up seeing a couple does, but dude, it was just that you can't beat a deer camp.
No.
I mean, it's just, it's, I always tell my son, my little boy, I say little boy, he's 13 and he's as big as I am.
They're always little in our eyes, right?
Yeah, he is. He's as big as I am. But I'm like, dude, you got to experience a deer camp. Like there is nothing better. I grew up every year for gun season, you know, going to deer camp. So we're actually headed to Missouri on Thursday for youth season. So that's going to be super. I'll keep you posted. I think it's going to be a good time, man. I can probably get into it later on, but like, long story short, I met a guy through, I did a guided, semi-guided hunt several years ago and became friends with another guy that did it. And he owns several farms, but one of his farms is in Missouri. And every year they do a youth camp for 8 kids. They invite eight kids to come out and hunt in, you know, super nice conditions, redneck box blinds, like the whole shebang, and they manage this property solely for whitetails. So I think it's going to be, I wish I had that experience when I was 13.
Oh, absolutely. Like this is all going to be included in the podcast. Like but like deer camp is one of those things that it's definitely dying. Like people can keep pushing it to like put the whole, like, brands can keep trying to push deer camp, trying to get money from it, right? I think that's what they're trying to do because they know that it's dying,
right?
And they're trying to get those last little bit of people that enjoy deer camp to buy whatever deer camp stuff they have.
Yep.
But it's like it takes us as like the generation that grew up with deer camp to bring it back. Like, I think, and this kind of ties into like your big buck. Like, I love big buck. Everyone loves big buck, right? But I think we're getting desensitized to big buck with like.
Oh, I agree.
It's like, I mean, the buck I just showed you, right? Like, that's a big one. Like, it's something unique, right? Unique about it. Or your buck is really big. Like these buck on the wall, like in my mind, they're still big, but you show it to like a younger kid who's growing up with social media, growing up with all this stuff, you know, putting their face of all these big buck hitting the dirt and the basic 8 points or 6 points or 5s or spikes and all that kind of stuff. It's that I don't want to shoot it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like deer camp is about just shooting deer and just like the camaraderie and like going up, grabbing that deer together and like having back straps on over the fire or the grill or anything. Yeah. That's the whole
skinning it, cutting it right off the spine and throwing it on the grill. That was what I grew up with. Whoever killed the first deer that night, we were skinning it and everybody got the back straps off that thing. And it was, I'm hoping that it's going to be similar to that. Because that's, I mean, when we did the one a couple weeks ago, like I just brought like bags of like this bag chili that I've always make at deer camp. You just throw some meat in it and cook it. And like it was exactly what it was supposed to be. Yeah. Nothing magical. We all slept in our trucks. You know, by the end of the day, we get back and it's dark out and we're exhausted and all you want to do is eat and just kind of decompress and talk about the day, you know, but there's just nothing better, man. It's like you said, I think we're just so used to that instant gratification, you know, trail cameras. Oh yeah. Look at this buck, you know, and I don't think I'll shoot that. My son said something the other, he was like, I don't know if I'm going to shoot a 140 or not. I'm like, dude, it took me like 20 years to shoot a 140, you know, like you're 13. Like, let's have a good time. We'll hopefully harvest a mature deer. Yeah. And that's kind of the guidelines is it's got to be mature.
Yeah.
and just experience, a 13-year-old kid hunting in a redneck box blind in Missouri, because there's a lot of kids that will never experience that.
Yeah. I mean, first, okay, we can continue this conversation, but I want you to introduce yourself first because we can keep going.
Yeah, dude. I start talking about deer, and then
No,
we'll
I
be
want to
like
continue
2
that
hours in.
conversation, but yeah, let's introduce yourself to the listeners, who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, yeah. My name's Hank Gibson. I am from Southern Ohio, born and raised in Ohio. Kind of just always stayed here because we've got big deer here, and never really ventured out anywhere else. I've been hunting. I'm 43 years old. I've been hunting since I was 14, so a long time. I was raised and brought up your typical farm style hunting. We hunted ladder stands and summit climber stands on one farm that I hunted it from the time I was 14 until probably 10 years ago. And we knew where the deer were, and that's where we set up. You always set up in those areas, and that's all we did. Every time you go, it was kind of the same thing. So I love it. I now, if I was talking earlier, I have a 13-year-old son that loves it almost as much as I do. There's sometimes that I kind of get on his nerves, and he tells me I need to pump the brakes a little bit. But whitetails and family are that's my two most important things.
Yeah, same here, man. Like it's a healthy addiction to have the whitetail addiction, right? I know you run Lone Wolf custom gear stuff too.
Yeah.
And I just recently bought a 0.5 right before the season started. I was like, you know what? I'm done with the stand I was using. It wasn't safe. It made too much noise. It was all this kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm buying a 0.5. So I bought the 0.5, and it's lives up to the expectation.
It does, man. It does. You buy once, cry once. I love them. I mean, I've tried everything. When I got into the mobile hunting thing, I'm one of those guys where I obsess over every little thing, and I do a bunch of research and try to figure out how I want to hunt or what I'm going to buy. And I can honestly say that I tried everything when I made the switch, and it was I bought the one stick and tried that for a while. I bought a couple of the cheaper stands and just ultimately ended up with the Lone Wolf stuff, mainly because it's just, I mean, like you said, it's good quality stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to ask that because I was scrolling through your Instagram a little bit to see, like, because obviously when you have someone who shot a big deer, it's like it's weird to say, but you kind of look for like their credentials per se, right? Like you want to see like how many big deer they've gotten down or like all that kind of stuff. Like, and I saw the one sticking, and I was like, dude, I will never in my life one stick. Like it's like, I couldn't do it. I feel like it's like, I saw a guy do it at the Mobile Hunter Expo here in Pennsylvania. And like, I was like, the amount of effort he's putting in to get 12 feet high, like, yeah, he's getting there quicker, but yet it's a little bit noisier too when he's doing it. And I'm like, I think I'll just stick with like 2 sticks and a stand.
Yeah.
2 sticks, a 2-step aider on each stick, and just take that route.
Yeah. That's what I did. 3 seasons ago, I tried every possible way to mobile hunt that there would be. Yeah. And I ultimately ended up with sticks and a stand. I enjoyed the one sticking. It was nice to be able to just pack in something light. But that small platform, it just wasn't for me. I felt like I never could get a good angle for a shot. And towards the end, before I invested in all the Lone Wolf stuff, I had a first gen 0.5, and I one sticked up the tree, and then ultimately got into the 0.5.
Oh, really?
It was nice. I mean, as far as weight goes, it was pretty light.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't for me. I know there's guys that love it. And to each their own, man.
Yeah. I still, if someone like Lone Wolf, I know has a really good climber, but it's to me, it looks uncomfortable, put it that way. Like if you made a summit climber extremely light and as comfortable as a summit climber is, oh God, I would go back to a climber in a heartbeat.
Oh man, I still have my old summit climber. Yes, that thing is the Cadillac. I mean, I can remember clanking around the woods with it. You know, you're trying to keep it tight so that it doesn't
Mhm.
ting when you're walking.
Yep.
But once you get up in that tree, man, I can remember so many days just sitting up in that thing. You know, once you get that fine tuned, it
Yep.
was a force to be reckoned with.
I had an old API. I had I used my dad's Summit, and then I also had a Field of Stream, which that thing was extremely heavy. Like
Mhm.
the Field of Stream climbers, that was like, I think they only made it for 1 year, and it was
Yeah.
just like they weren't selling enough of them because they were like, this thing is so heavy and uncomfortable. Like it had the mesh seat, but it flipped up. But the mesh seat, it was weird. Like the mesh seat was like in line with the bar that's in front of you.
Uh-huh.
So it's like it was a weird setup at that. And like the Summits, I just like them because like you kind of like sit down, the bar's there.
Yep.
Like it's not like you're in line with the bar. The bar is just a little bit above
Oh
you.
yeah, you're like, I can remember you, like you're all hunkered down and you just sit your gun right there in front of it, man, or your bow
Yep.
or whatever it was. It was they just, that was, I would say, without a doubt,
Mhm.
hands down, will go down as the most comfortable tree stand in the history of tree stands. You know?
Yeah. There's no one's going to be able to compete with that and cut the weight. Like
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. Maybe at some point, maybe I'll go back to a Summit
You
when I
never
get
know,
old.
man.
You know,
Yeah. There you go.
one of those things. I mean, the carrying systems now they have. Like I got the Hobo Gear carrying system.
Yes.
Like for my .5. Like if I put that on a climber, I feel like it wouldn't really feel like it's there. Like it when you had those climbers, you always just had like the regular straps. Like
Right.
it wasn't like you didn't put anything fancy on there. It was just the regular straps and you went and did it. But if you put a really nice carrying system on there, I think you probably wouldn't feel it too much.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how you know, your son said he wouldn't shoot a 140. He doesn't think he'll shoot a 140.
Uh-huh.
I want to get back to that conversation because I think that is like we were talking about, like that is I don't want to put your son that category, right? But it's like the generation of kids growing up with social media and on social media, like 99% of kids are probably on social media. And
Yeah.
they're especially they're hunting, they're trying to make a YouTube channel, they're trying to make, you know, become famous. They're probably trying to become the next Seek One or something like
Right.
that, right? Or big name, whoever. Man, what's your thoughts on that? Like, how do you like? Because like, I have a 2-year-old daughter, right?
Mhm.
And like, I'm hoping that someday she'll get into hunting, and then I have another daughter on the way. So it's like maybe someday they'll get into hunting, but it's like, how do you balance that with
Right.
like, you know, you want him like because you want to shoot big buck, like you'd love for him to shoot a big buck because you'd feel overjoyed with that, but yet any deer you would get, you'd feel overjoyed with. Yep.
I lost you.
Oh,
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Is that better?
Yep.
All right. I touched something and it didn't like it. Okay. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah.
So as a father of a teenager, these are things that I'm kind of on the hunting side of life and hunting side of things. I have been experiencing over the last year or so. So I'll kind of give you a feedback or a rundown on how I have developed my son into the hunter he is now. So I knew I was going to have a little boy someday, and I knew he was going to be my hunting buddy. Um, it was just one of those things. I felt like that was God was going to bless me with a little boy, and I have a little girl also. She don't want to have nothing to do with it right now. But Wyatt he was just always my buddy. You know, that father son bond. We were always playing, you know, playing in the yard, and he got to watch me hunt his whole young life. So when he was, I think he was 4 or 5, I started bringing him with me into the woods. I can remember the first time we went what we called hunting. It was basically I grabbed a coloring book in a bag full of candy, and we went and sat in a ground blind, and it was the coolest thing ever because he was just, you could just see the not, you know, just the knowledge going on in the thinking and looking around and trying to figure out what was going on. So
Mhm.
it was something I just, when it was, the weather permitted, he was with me. And I did that for, I guess it was probably 2 or 3 years. He just tagged along with me when weather would permit. He ended up he got to watch me harvest a doe one year. And that was when it kind of just clicked for him. Like, he's like, man, I got to do this. So, the next summer after that, I got him. Actually, I had an old Matthews Creed compound bow that I used, and I was in a different part of life financially, and wasn't able to just go buy a crossbow. So I ended up trading that Matthews Creed for a Barnett crossbow, and for a couple years, him and I just shared the crossbow.
Yeah.
And in the summertime, we were out in the yard target shooting until he became really comfortable with shooting the target. Then I ended up getting one of those 3D targets, and then we started practicing shot placements. I would take pictures of deer, and I would put it on his tablet and make him draw little red circles where he would shoot the deer until I felt like he felt comfortable enough to where he could harvest an animal. We talked about, the importance of conservation, shot placement, and just good moral values of what it means to be a hunter, because you're going to take a life. And when I felt like he was mature enough, I devoted that first year to him. I didn't hunt at all. Every time I hunted with, he was in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
That year we hunted all year, and we never even seen a deer. But he stuck it out. I think it was like the last week of the season. In Ohio, our season goes to the first weekend in February.
Yeah.
So he ended up harvesting a small button buck that year, and he shot it, man, and he smoked it. I mean, we watched it. It ran around and fell right next to the ground blind.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So he was officially hooked. And so the last, I guess that was probably 5 years ago. Every year since then, I've slowly added things into the realm for his hunting. We went from a ground blind to a ladder stand. And what I would do is I would set up a ladder stand and then a hang-on stand right over his shoulder. And then I could just sit and tell him, when the deer would come in, we would talk about it, talk through the shot. And that seemed to really develop his abilities. And then he's, I'm not a mega buck killer. I'm not, I for years and years, I hunted and I killed anything anything that got me excited. That's what I was harvesting. I've been blessed. I've killed some nice deer, but I'm not one of those guys that every year is killing these mega giants. I love the outdoors. I love hunting. That's where I'm closest to God. Like that's just my thing. So, and I feel like that has helped me and also helped him develop into a good hunter. With you hear people talk about woodsmanship and this and that, but for years we were the guys that hunted over corn piles and ladder stands. So he could for 4 consecutive years, he harvested a deer every year. So he was starting to get cocky. And he's probably going to hear this, but he was your typical young man, and he was having some luck with harvesting deer. He shot a couple does. He shot a nice little 6-pointer one year. Well, then came the time where he missed. And that just devastated him. We film our hunts and have for a long time. I have this toxic trait where I black out when the time comes and I don't hit the record button when the kill shot happens, or
double tap.
Exactly. Yeah. Leading up to and post, I got some killer footage. So, so that year he missed his first deer. Yeah. And then, I think it was like a week later, he ended up shooting a doe, and it was like that no man's land. It hit her like high shoulder, and we never found her. So that year he never harvested a deer. He had a miss, and he had he wounded a deer, and I knew then this was either going to make him or break him. He was either going to stay the course, or he would probably walk away. And luckily he didn't. You know, we talked about it. We talked about how many times I've had that happen. With, you know, it's just if you hunt long enough, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So all the while, him and I both have just kind of been getting better and better. Well, the end of last year, he had been the apprentice. He had done the apprentice license for 3 or 4 years. I told him, I said, okay, you know, you're going to be a teenager next year, and you're going to have to take your hunter education course. So we're not going to do the apprentice thing anymore. I want you to go through this. I had to go through it when I was a kid. It's just kind of a rite of passage. And I said, I want you to start shooting a compound bow too. And I ended up buying him a pretty nice compound bow for Christmas that year. And he just started practicing. You know, we would go out. We love to shoot. I shoot almost every single day, just because I love it. You know, and preparing to killing this big deer.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in a little bit. But I was prepared. Like everything I dedicated an entire year to killing this deer. So I would go out and shoot every single day. And anytime I could get him to go shoot with me, he did as well. So kind of going back to what you're talking about, the 13-year-old talking about shooting a 140,
right?
Am I creating a monster? You know, you know, we're seeing all these guys that I'm friends with killing big deer, you know, the internet, YouTube. That's, you know, if him and I are at home and we're watching TV, it's usually some kind of deer hunting something.
Yeah.
So, feel like maybe it's hurting. I don't know. But when a 13-year-old boy starts talking about going to Missouri and shooting a 140-inch deer, you know, what are we developing? You know, so
I mean, I definitely think you did everything right. Like you're doing everything right. Like that's how I would do it too, right? It's just, no matter how much we try and control what's being put in front of them or all that kind of stuff or what they're seeing, like they're going to see and be attracted to what they want to be attracted to. So like if they're attracted to big bucks, they're going to want to shoot. But to me, when I'm in the woods, I don't know what a 140 looks like. If it's walking in through the woods, like I don't even know what a 140 looks like. So it's like, it could walk by me like, oh, like, I think it's all mentality thing, right? Like before you get in that situation, you can say all you want, like, oh, I'm going to hold out for a 120, 130, whatever, right? 100-inch buck. Like you can hold out for a 100-inch buck. But when you get in that situation, if that buck comes up in front of you and the first instinct is to grab your weapon, you already made your mind up at that point. So like he can be saying this right now and it changes in the heartbeat when it happens. Right? Like it's just one of those things. Like it's almost like when you have my dog, like he acts aggressive, but he's all bark, no bite. Right?
I got a Frenchie that's like that. He's always trying to beat up the big neighborhood dogs, but once they, you know, grab him by the neck, he usually submits.
Yeah. It's like, you know, anyone can say whatever they want, but then when it comes that moment in time, like what's really going to be the choice, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and I think, like you said, it's the world, the hunting industry, the hunting world that we live in. Everybody's talking about big deer and 140s and 150s. I'll be honest, like you said, I'm the same way. I don't know what a 140 looks like. I know that with this Missouri hunt that we're going on, the guy we've talked about, you know, what the expectations are on the deer that they harvest, and you know, it's 8 young boys, and they want them to be happy. Whatever gets them excited, they're allowed to shoot whatever gets them excited, but they do want to try to harvest mature deer. And I think that's probably where we've lost sight of what it means to be a hunter, you know, what it means to kill big deer. I've always been the type, if it gets me excited, if it's a nice animal, I'm gonna shoot it, you know. And I think I've tried to instill that in him up until this point. You know, I don't think he's ever shot anything probably over 100 inches, but I think us as adults, us as fathers, us as stewards of you know, the hunting realm, we have to instill those values into the younger generations. We have to. I always tell guys, man, bring somebody that's never been hunting, and hunt your hunt.
Yep.
If you're going to be shamed into killing, a less than mature deer, then shame on you. I think that we all just need to stay in our lane and shoot what makes us happy.
Yeah, if someone's out there who has a lot of kills underneath their belt and they're holding out for that 140, more power, like that's their decision, right? Like it's like, but we can't be forcing a younger generation below us to like be shooting big deer because that's what the standard is, right? In the hunting industry, right? Like the standard is what you decide.
Absolutely.
And that's like, I'd still love shooting doe, man. Like I had the craziest freaking doe hunt last year during rifle season. Like I had 8 doe come out in front of me, and I was like, every time, like it was one after another, just coming out of this laurel patch. And I was sitting in this old like stand that once again, one of those old stands I just found in the middle of the woods. I was sitting there, and like all these deer would coming out. I was like, oh, there has to be a buck in here somewhere. Right. And then all of a sudden, like I was like, nope, they're all doe. And I was like, which one's the biggest?
Yeah.
There was one to my left that was going to blow, so I dropped her, and then another one came out in front of me. And I dropped that one, so I was like,
man.
and I was like so pumped up after that. Like I was fired up.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's just, I think, I ride a motorcycle, and that I've always loved to hunt, but I've always rode motorcycles, and that was always something that it would clear my head. If I had a bad day, I could jump on that thing and, within a couple minutes, my mind was clear. It's sadly, it's gotten so dangerous anymore with the way people are always on their phones. I don't get as much happiness out of that. But now, the hunting stuff, I've always enjoyed it. And I've always, what I would say, I was addicted to it. But the last few years, I've become obsessed with it, that addiction thing. And just because I think it's just to be out there in the woods, watch the world wake up, the sunrise, and to just be a part of that. If that doesn't tell you there's a God, I don't know what is, man. And to be able to experience that with your son or buddies is just that's my idea of happiness.
The episode that, for everyone to listen to this was recorded October 28th. The episode that I just released with Doug Hugel from Hugel Design Co. We had a conversation on there where, like, when you're in the woods and you're watching the world wake up, you're the only one watching that movie at that time. So like the views you have and where you're watching, what you're hearing, no one else is hearing the exact same thing that you're hearing and what you're seeing. So like, it's crazy if you think about that. Like you're watching your own movie at that point.
I've never even thought of it that way.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you chills, man.
Yeah. Just think about that next time. Like every time, like I remember the first day this year. So PA opened October 4th. There was a moment where I was just like, I'm just hunting, right? But then I turned around and saw the sun coming up behind over the mountain. I was like, I stopped and I paused. I was like, this is awesome. Like no one else is seeing this view that I have right here of this sun coming over the mountain right here. Like if you take a step back and think, okay, it's not just about killing deer and harvesting a big buck or harvesting a doe or, whatever. It's so much more rewarding in the end.
Oh man, it's so much bigger than that.
Oh yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's comes full circle to deer camp right there, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Deer camp and watching the world wake up. And no one else knows it. Unless you get too hungover at night, then it's just that. Then you might not watch the world wake up. The world will watch you wake up.
The animals might be watching you wake up or throw up.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's very true. So I think we talked a good amount about like that kind of stuff. But let's get to this deer now.
Oh man, yeah.
Everyone who's tuning in, I guarantee probably wants to just, when are they going to talk about this deer, right? So that's probably what everyone's here. So let's hear
Yeah.
about this.
The story of Big Daddy.
Yeah, is that his name, Big Daddy?
It is. And,
Okay.
and Wyatt, my son, is the one who named him.
Okay.
So yes, man, it just the absolute deer of a lifetime. How it all came together, the story, how it unfolded over the last 4 years. It was like picture perfect. So in 2021, I gained access to this small parcel of property. I'm in the roofing industry, and I'm always on the road, writing estimates and inspecting roofs and doing repairs and stuff. So I've always been the type, if I find a place that looks like a good place to deer hunt, I'm asking for permission. Hey, like I'll give you a discount on your roof, or I'll do a repair for free. But it's kind of always been my son and I. My son and I hunt, and we mainly bow hunt, especially these smaller parcels of land, because a lot of them set up almost like suburban like. But this specific property, it sets up that way, but it's more ag country. There's just areas that it's bordered by big pieces of land, not quite PA big, but a few hundred acres.
Yeah.
So the guy tells me, yeah, we've got deer back there, but nobody's ever really asked to deer hunt. You're more than welcome to it. So I said, hey, can I go put a trail camera back there, and just kind of take a look on, see what's going on. So that was going into the 2022 season. So we put a trail camera up, and we get this big deer on camera. So 4 years ago, this deer is big. And that's when Wyatt was like, that's Big Daddy. We got a picture of Big Daddy. So 4 years ago, I was your typical corn pile, ladder stand, hunting. We found a spot that looked like it was a good spot, and that's where we set up. So going back, I'm trying to think of how to tell the story so that it all makes sense. Okay, so 2022, we get a picture of this deer. We set up to hunt him, and we go in and we never see him. We get him on trail camera, not a whole lot. The only time he daylighted in 2022 was the one morning that we slept in. It was early November, right around the rut, and we had been hunting, and just decided to sleep in that morning, and he ended up daylighting on the camera. So 23 season, we hunted him, never seen him. He daylighted a little bit more, but we just never could get on him. And we were just hunting that one specific area. 2024 is when I really started getting into the mobile hunting. Late 2023 into 24. I started, a buddy of mine posted a picture online, and I'm like, what are you hunting in? And he's like, oh, it's a saddle, man. You got to check this out. So I started looking into the mobile hunting side of things. About that time, I had noticed that there was some public land that bordered this private sector. So into the end of, I'm getting turned around. You can take part of this out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So in 2022, you got the first picture of him, right? Was that like during the season of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. So then come 2023, that full season there, did you hunt that same property, get any more pictures of him?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So we hunted that same spot, the same area every single time.
So from 2022 and 2023, you pretty much had a corn pile with a ladder stand out, and we're hunting that one spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so pretty much that was what you would do every single time you went out there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then 2024.
Yeah,
let's get into that.
We'll start there. Yeah. So that was when I really started the mobile hunting thing.
Yes.
invested in some good gear, some nice. I hunt with a lot of the Lone Wolf stuff. I got a 0.5 and some of their sticks. So I set into that 2024 season that I was going to kill this deer. But he was just always one step ahead of us.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like he would daylight early season, and we would go in and hunt him, and he wouldn't be there. And then like 20 minutes after we left, he shows up.
Yeah.
So I felt like this deer had us patterned better than we did him.
So let's dive into that quick before we get to this season here.
Yeah.
Of how you got on him.
Yeah.
That 2024 season, when you said like you got into mobile hunting, you got the 0.5, you got the sticks, all that kind of stuff. When you were setting up, like you weren't setting up around that corn pile, or were you still setting up by that corn pile there?
So, like I said, we found that there was some public land behind that. Okay. So I went into that 2024 season kind of just with an open mind that I was going to try to go in and scout the sign and set up on the fresh sign. And that's what I did. There was I got invested in a kayak, and I put a ton of miles on scouting in the postseason leading up to that 2024 season. Okay. I found what I felt like was his bedroom. So the plan was that I was going to kayak in to the backside of this property and come up this drainage ditch and just try to set up on him on that public side of the property. I had a bunch of trail camera pictures. I had set up trail camera pictures. This is my son's home from Taekwondo. I set some cameras up and got quite a bit of velvet footage of him in that 2024 season. Okay. And we would go in and try to set up on the fresh sign, and we just never could get on him. It was the only time I seen him in the 2024 season was I almost hit him with my truck. Me and the kids were going to try to get some permission on some of the surrounding properties. And as we rounded the bend, this deer runs out in front of us across the road and almost hit him. We actually got some cell phone footage of him running, and he just kind of turned around and looked at us and like stuck his tongue out and he was gone. So it was crazy. Every other year, this deer, his rack has changed from typical to non-typical. Okay. It's actually been really cool. The left side has always been kind of wonky, but last year, the 2024 season, he was a main frame 10-pointer. Just a beautiful, beautiful rack. I mean, it was just thick and just symmetrical. But the way I could always tell it was him is he had really small G2s. Okay. I've got thousands of trail camera pictures of this deer, and every year he's got super small G2s. It was kind of weird how he would go from typical to non-typical, but this 2025 season he just exploded as you know into just a gigantic deer. So the 24 season was, I mean, I put all my eggs into that basket. That's the only deer I hunted in Ohio. I passed up multiple nice mature deer in the season, both on private and public in this whole area surrounding that. But that was the only deer I wanted to kill. It was almost like a battle of the wills at that point. Yeah.
Do you think, because you said you passed up a bunch of mature deer, do you think that kind of like built your confidence up quite a bit now? Like, I do. Leading into this season here? I do. Yeah. And just, it built up my confidence as a hunter, as a woodsman, to be able to set up and you know how it is for years, you just set up where you think the deer are going to be, not where they are, what looks like a good spot. So I can, the mobile hunter guys, the Mobile Hunter Expo, those guys, I listen to their podcasts. Anybody that would listen or give me advice, I was like that guy. Hey man, like give me some pointers. Check this out. Look at this map. Where would you set up? How would you set up? So yes, absolutely. I feel like this journey has it's like the evolution of a mobile hunter. You go from the ladder stands and climbers to going what you call mobile, and really anybody that's moving around, you can call that mobile hunting, whether it's a climber or a one stick or whatever. But it
it made me to where I felt more confident in myself as a hunter, because I could go in and set up on these areas and still see mature deer.
Mm-hmm.
And find those pinch points and those funnels and those areas that you hear on podcast after podcast on these
Mm-hmm.
guys killing big deer.
Yeah.
So
So that 24 season, you said you were kayaking in. Were you kayaking in to behind, like, because the public was near there too, right? So
it
like
was,
you were,
yeah.
were
Yep.
you sitting up on public and the private side? Like you were bouncing kind of back and forth?
I was. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I went into that season with just trying to change up everything that I had ever learned with hunting. And the kayak side, the water access was something that really intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just something, it was way out of my comfort zone, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Lots of failures. I would say failures are what ultimately killed this deer, was that I would do something and I would set up in a tree and I'd get up in it and I wouldn't like it. It wouldn't set up to where I could get a good shot, or I'd be in an area that, I'd try to find some really thick cover and set up there and I wouldn't have any kind of shooting lanes. So it was just failure after failure. And I got so frustrated. I kept a journal for the last 3 years of every daylight picture of this deer. Anytime that I would have anything to do with it, I would keep track of the barometric pressure, the wind direction, the weather conditions, and just kind of what I experienced that day, and was able to keep a log and try to pattern how this deer moves.
Yeah. That's the sign that you were seeing. Like, was anything like for him? Like, I imagine with how big he is, like you would think he would lay down some big sign, right? A big deer laying down big sign. But the one deer I'm after, he doesn't really lay down big sign. Like it seems like kind of the opposite. Have you noticed that, like with him, like, or was he just laying down some big sign that you think?
I think the sign that I was finding was more community sign.
Okay.
So going into that 2024 season, the year prior, I did some postseason scouting, and that was something that I had never done before. Deer season's over. I don't think about deer hunting until the following deer season.
Yeah.
So listening to some of these guys talk about how they scout and how they scout more than they hunt and this and that, it really, I'm like, man, anytime I have the opportunity to get in the woods, I'm going to go get in the woods. So that's what I did. I went into this public side of it postseason when all the vegetation is gone, and was able to find a bunch of the previous year's sign. I ended up finding you hear people talk about those car hood scrapes. I found one of those, and I ended up putting a camera up. I put it like 8 feet, like one stick high up in this tree, and I left it there. And it was so cool to sit, and I put it on video mode and to watch these deer for an entire year hit that scrape. Does, bucks, mature bucks, shed bucks, they were there, and it was the licking branches more so, I think, than the actual scrape. But you could tell that this had been there for a long time. I mean, it had, the dirt was it was indented into the ground.
Yes.
And I ended up getting this deer several times through velvet on that scrape.
Okay.
But like I said, the sign that I was finding, because the area that I killed this deer, it was 4 acres. The private property that I killed this deer on was only 4 acres.
That's insane.
So not your typical, you see a lot of the suburban settings where guys are killing big deer on small parcels like that. But like I said, it was surrounded by a lot of big land. So I think the sign that I thought was him was just community sign.
Okay.
And like I said, I never saw him during daylight. The only time we ever saw him in the stand was I think the first year that we hunted him. He came in underneath us like the first week of the season, and my son, he's over there next to me. He's like, "Dad, don't move. Dad, just be quiet. Don't move." And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "You're the one that's making the noise." And he ended up busting us and ran out. And that was, like I said, I feel like it was just too coincidental that he would daylight early season and every time that we weren't there, but it was the same access in, the same access out, the same stand that we hunted at on the private part. And it was just, it's set up to, that's why big deer become big deer, especially of that caliber.
I firmly believe that deer scout us as much as we scout them.
Yeah.
Like, especially of like big deer like this, mature buck in general, they 100% scout us all the time. So like if someone's accessing the same way every single time, they know that, because when they don't see that person walk in, they're like, okay, he's not here.
Yeah.
Right. Like
yeah.
it's, I even with public pieces, like I've noticed that with the one area I hunt, it's like everyone accesses from either below or on top. So it's like you got to change up the routine. Like it might take you a little longer, a lot longer actually, to get to where you want to go. But if you access from like the side compared to up or down, you have a better chance. And I've noticed that last year with the rifle. Like I was walking parallel with it, and I've seen more deer than if I would have walked straight up, because I would have pushed them all out. Deer are very smart.
They
Deer
are, man.
very smart.
I don't think we give them enough credit, because this, I mean, that I see it more and more, because like the access, you got to change it up. And that's what I've been blessed to be able to surround myself with a lot of really, really great whitetail hunters, just salt of the earth kind of guys, and have a lot of really good intimate conversations with them about this deer and just deer hunting in general. And that's one thing I would always ask guys. I would go and go to at these expos or the Whitetail Roadshow. That's something that those guys did with Lone Wolf this year. And, I go in and I would just listen. I would just keep my mouth shut and watch these guys and listen to them. And I would ask them, like, when does it click? Because there comes a point in our whitetail career when it eventually clicks and you just get it. And, I've been hunting for 28, 29 years since I was 14 years old. And it was every year I killed a lot of deer. And I think that also turned, it helped me become the hunter I am today. But there comes a point when it just clicks. And a lot of those guys, one of the things that every single one of them says, you got to change it up. You got to change your patterns. You have to change everything that you've been doing to kill a deer of this caliber, of this age class, because they don't think like normal deer. They don't operate like normal deer. That one of the things last year when I was able to sit and watch a lot of mature deer do mature deer things, every step is calculated, every move, taken to play thermals. We've hunted wind for our whole lives. You got your wind checker and okay, the wind is blowing this way. What is a thermal?
Right.
And that's leading up to the 2025 season. It was just, like I said, lots of failures, and just learning all these different things of what it would take to kill a deer of this age class.
Yeah. I'm still like, the wind and thermals are like the biggest thing. I think like I'm still trying to figure it out. Right. It's like, which is the right wind speed for this area? Because like obviously in the mountains, I also feel like wind does not, like you can go in with a north or northwest wind and you get in there and it's a south wind at that point. And it's like, why is it like this in this spot right here? But then you go 200 yards to your left and it's a true northwest wind. And it's like, well, I needed that back there, not right here. And it's like, that's where those big deer they just know that area so well. Because the one thing I heard, and I can't take credit for it, but I don't remember what podcast it's from. I think it was from Wired to Hunt. Wired to Hunt put this out.
Yeah.
A part-time deer hunter will not kill a full-time whitetail.
Oh, wow.
And that was like, holy shit. Like that, that hits hard. Like that's like, because they're full-time whitetails. Like they don't leave the woods to come home and have another job. We go to a job, we have a family, and then we have that maybe 1 or 2 days a week we go out there and become part-time whitetail hunters.
Wow.
Like how does a part-time whitetail hunter go into the woods and kill a full-time whitetail. Like you did it. You harvested this full-time whitetail. That's a 200-inch buck. Like you did it.
Yeah.
So like you have moments of it can happen, but yet unless, like you were talking about, until you switch your whole mindset up and change things up, these things are going to keep beating you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and I'm still getting whooped.
Oh man, I still last night me and my son hunted. I'm doing it's a county park program, where you go in and it's literally like a park, and you go in and they're trying to thin these herds out. Well, the way this property sets up, it's a lot of ridges and ditches and everything, and I've scouted it several times. Well, we're sitting up last night, and I know which way the wind's blowing, and I know which way I think the thermals are going to go, and I'm constantly dropping milkweed, more so just to teach me how this all works, because I'm still trying to figure it out. And you get in the mountains, good luck figuring that out. Like I hunt in Kentucky in the mountains, and there you got deer blowing at you, above you, below you. It's I don't know. I still can't figure that out. But just, when you're dropping the milkweed, and they say the thermals rise in the morning and they drop in the evenings, and we tried to set up kind of on the low side of this drainage for the evening sit, with the expectations that the thermals would pull down into that drain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's somehow, with the curvature of the land, that they were pulling up until, and it's kind of weird to see it when that thermals change happens.
Mm-hmm.
And when it happened, man, it just started sucking them back down into that drainage. And you hear guys talk about setting up or waiting to go into a spot until that change happens. And I can't figure it out. I'm just constantly trying to learn.
Yeah, I think we're also, as the human race, we're just so in a hurry to get to wherever the destination is. Like for me, it's like I don't want to wait until the thermals switch. I want to be there before they switch. But in reality, it's like if you can wait sometimes before they do it, like it was kind of funny. So like, and we'll get to the harvest, how you set up to that. But like I was able to stalk up on a mature buck in the big woods and get to 20 yards of him. And I was like, and that right there showed me the wind and thermal type thing to like a T, because the wind was coming from the southeast to the northwest. Was it? Yeah. It was coming from the southeast and northwest, and he was bedded like straight due north of me where I was standing. So like when I was walking, and it was gusty. So like it was having gusts of like 12, 15 miles per hour, like at a time. And like it was noisy. So like took my boots off, took my backpack off, took the 0.5 off my back. And I was like, I'm going to go try and stalk up on this deer. I was 60, maybe 70 yards away from it at the time. And I cut the distance. Every time the gust would come, every time the hard wind would come, I'd walk a little bit more, get behind a tree, sit down, glass him up, see where he's at. Then, another gust comes, I'd move a little bit further. And I was like, if I get to this tree right here, I'm 20 yards from him. And one gust comes, I get to this tree, and it's there, and I have a steady wind still. So like the wind's still blowing, everything like that. And he was bedded down. I didn't know if I should take the shot or not, and all that kind of stuff. So instead of, getting prepared, I took a video with my phone, obviously, put my phone in my pocket. The wind stops like that. He goes like with the wind stopping, the thermals rising right to him. He knew I was there right away, and he just stood up, looked at me. By the time I drew back, he was off.
Oh my gosh.
It was like when that wind stopped, my thermals rose right to him.
Yep.
It was 11:50 in the middle of the day.
Oh
So
my
it was like
gosh.
the thermals are rising right to him at that point.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like when it works and you get to see it, you're like, that's how that works.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you said, it's those little failures that you learn from. And like, yes, it was a failure, right? Because I put a arrow through that buck, but it was also a success in the end too, because it's like I learned something from that. It's like, okay, if it's above whatever miles per hour it was at this moment in time, wind will overdo those thermals.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's a win, man. That's
Yeah.
that's like you said, it stinks that you didn't harvest that animal, but gosh, man, as you were telling me that, I was like, oh, like I can see when it all works out
Yep.
and you get to see it actually play out,
Yep.
you're like, okay, now I get it, you know. But how do you set that up every time to work perfectly in your favor? And I think that's how, you know, a lot of these guys are consistently harvesting deer of that age class.
Yeah. Big time. And it's just every deer is also different at that point. Like I'm not gonna be able to go to that spot every time and see him bedded there and be able to stalk up to him. Like he now learned from that experience and he's going to adapt to that now. So it's like the more you try and teach, the more you try and get on them and end up teaching them, the smarter their offsprings are even going to be.
Yeah, man. They're like, I said it before, they don't get big by being dumb.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the year of the harvest.
Yeah. So
2025.
Yeah. So, you know, the 2024 season, like I said, was just a whole bunch of failures and learning experiences. And I went into the postseason of the 24 into 25 season with kind of just a whole new outlook on what it took to hunt a deer of this caliber. And I set out to learn everything I could about this deer's patterns. I went into this season I didn't want to hunt over corn. I have nothing against it. I've done it for years. My son still does, but I went into it. I was going to try to hunt this deer on his ground, and it's 4 acres, so it's not a whole lot of ground really. But he was bedding. I knew that he was bedding. He wasn't bedding on this property. It's a narrow 4 acres. It runs. It's deep, and then it kind of goes down into a bottom, and that's where a lot of the private, the bigger private, and then the public sets up. I had knocked on the neighbor's door several times to try to get permission because I knew if I could just get 100 yards over onto this property, I could really get into his core area. And every time I knocked on this door, nobody answered. So another thing that going into this season, the state of Ohio stopped the public hunting on the bordering property of where I was hunting this deer. They found some type of endangered bug or something. I don't know what it. I was back there postseason scouting and ran into one of the game warden's business cards tacked on another tree stand that was back there. So I thought maybe he was the one hunting it. So I called him. And he's like, no, I'm in charge of this area. We're going to shut this down for public hunting this year. And they're doing all these things to figure out this endangered bug or whatever. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know I can't hunt this, the public side of it. I can't get in contact with the surrounding properties to gain permission. So I knew that I had just this small area to kill this deer. Like I said, that I've kept a journal of all the daylight activity on my cameras that this deer for the last 2 or 3 years. So I knew that if I was going to kill him, it was going to be early season. This deer, he would daylight frequently through early season. You would see him a couple times during the rut, and then he would vanish. And you wouldn't. Every year I would freak out late season that somebody killed him or whatever because he would disappear. When I realized he went to his winter range after that. So I knew if I was going to kill him, it was going to have to be early. So I knew that if I could find out where he was bedding, where he was from bed to food, I could try to intersect him somewhere in between there. So back in the summer, I put out a mineral site and put a camera over top of that. And when he showed up, I immediately knew it was him. It was he, just by his facial features and his curvature of his back. He was an old deer. I was putting him, he's probably 7 or 8 years old because I've been hunting him for 4 years and he was big 4 years ago.
He's a big body deer.
Yeah. Huge. It almost killed us trying to get him out of the woods. So I knew that if I could figure out where he was coming from, because that was one thing I had never really known is how he was accessing this property. I knew where he was was going from there, but never where he was coming from. So
Mhm.
I set out the mineral site, put the camera on. I got him on camera. So I would move cameras farther and farther back on the property. I ran 3 cameras pretty much all summer, and I would set him out for a couple weeks. And if I didn't get him on camera, I would move him. I would either
Mhm.
move him, just around the tree a little bit or back farther.
Yeah.
And I started to get this deer on pattern. I knew that he was coming from the north.
Okay.
I knew he was bedding where I thought on the property to the north, and he was accessing this property just for minerals, minerals and food. There really wasn't a whole lot of vegetation. There is some woods, but there was no acorns, no natural vegetation. So he was only accessing this for his girlfriends
Yep.
and to eat. So he was regularly on the property. Let's see, May, May and June, I had him
Okay.
regularly on camera. And then he vanished and he was gone. So EHD
Mhm.
has just rocked our deer population
Yes.
in Southern Ohio.
Yep.
Southeast Ohio is it's decimated. You
Mhm.
talk to guys that most of their herd has been killed by EHD.
Yep.
So I thought for sure EHD had killed this deer.
And especially with that water right behind there too.
Yeah.
It gets
Yep.
like that would be in my mind too. It's like, oh, great, HD's in that water and got him. And yeah.
Yep. So I was like a lost puppy. I'm in a bad mood. Everybody's like, what's wrong? I'm like, my deer's gone. And I had actually got my kayak loaded up in, let's see, it was three or 4 days before opening. We'll just say a week before the opening day of Ohio season.
Okay.
I was going to go try to find this deer, find his dead
Yeah.
body in a creek somewhere. I had the kayak loaded up, and I just knew it. So, like I said, I didn't want to hunt over corn, so I had set the minerals out all year. And a good buddy of mine was like, "Hank, this deer is only accessing this property for food."
Mhm.
We had a drought in Ohio, so the deer weren't really using the minerals like they did early
Mhm.
season.
Right.
So he's like, "Put some corn out. You're not hunting over it. Put it out and just see if he's alive."
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So I went out and it put some corn out. And it was like within 12 hours, this deer shows back up
No,
on
no.
camera. Yeah. So
Wow.
I know. And I was this was the night that the next day I was going to go try to find him.
Yeah.
So he shows up and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's alive. And he just, all throughout the year, he was just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger. And then that one side, the left side, just, it was like palmated.
Mhm.
And I had talked to some guys. I'm like, I don't want to say it out loud, but dude, I think this deer's going to go 200 inches.
Yeah.
You just knew just by the sheer size of the mass that was growing out of his head that he was going to be big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I think he's going to go 200 inches. So that last picture that I got when I realized he was alive, it was the velvet was gone. The rack had been done growing, and he was just a massive whitetail. So I knew he was alive.
Yep.
I talked to a lot of the guys on how I was going to try to set up on this deer, and again, they said you got to change it up.
Mhm.
So I knew I wasn't going to hunt the same tree that I had always hunted. There was a tree a little farther north of where I normally hunted him that I'd
Mhm.
always thought looked like a really good tree to hunt. But it was almost like honeysuckle. There was this big honeysuckle tree that had overgrown this other tree.
Yeah.
And this tree set up, and it was like a 3 trunk. It had, 3 trunks coming out of it. So for a small little lone wolf tree stand, it was the perfect setup.
Yeah.
But I had just never really considered it because it was such a pain in the ass to try to get set up in it.
Yeah.
So, looking at where he came from where he was accessing the property and where he was going to and then leaving. This set up to be the perfect tree for a north wind setup, and that's what we had on opening day in Ohio, was a north wind. So I knew he was accessing the property before daylight in the mornings. So I knew I couldn't hunt him in the mornings. So I knew I was just going to go that day and hunt him in the evening. So I went in at lunchtime, and the homeowner actually, he's like, "Hey," I said, "Hey, can you care if I hunt out of this other tree? I'm going to have to cut some branches back to get some shooting lanes, but I'd really like to set up here." And I videoed this entire journey throughout these last 4 years of all the interviews that I've talked about this deer and hunts. And I actually was filming that the opening day, and the homeowner had walked up, and I was talking to him, and you can hear me talking about trimming this tree and setting up on this deer. So he gave me his pole saw, and I went in at lunchtime and I trimmed 2 shooting lanes, and was able to come in, the backside of this property, go right up the tree. I got my tree stand set up, got my shooting lane set up. It was hot. It was like high 80s that day. So I'm sweating. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. I cut my leg trying to trim all these trees. So, but it's all coming together. Like all these things that I've failed at and learned at and trying to make myself a better hunter. It was all setting up to be this perfect hunt. So I got everything set up. I hung my set, went back to the truck, cooled off, put my hunting clothes on, and got in my stand. And immediately I get in the stand, and there's deer. There's a family group of does that live on this property, and they come in every day. And they come in down in this bottom, and they feed, and then they just kind of meander around, and they'll leave, and it's just all throughout the day. These deer are this big group of does come through. We had a north wind, and we talked about that, the thermal switch and how thermals change. So that day, that the way that deer was coming, he had the wind. The wind was in his favor of where I set up. But my thermals, how the curvature of this property sets up, my thermals were pulling back. They were kind of sucking up this hill away from this deer. So the wind was blowing towards the deer, but the thermals were sucking. Just, you hear people talk about hunting just off wind. That's what I did. I didn't really do it on purpose, but when I got up in the tree stand and started dropping milkweed, that's exactly what was going on.
Do you think from the other tree, were your thermals doing that?
I think no, they weren't.
I think that's probably why you're getting, like, he never would come out, because he knew you were there, because the thermals in that tree that you had a ladder stand were probably sucking down to him. It's this tree here, because I would imagine, so if the wind's blowing down towards the bottom, I'm guessing, like where the water is, the wind was blowing down that way. So there's probably more sun hitting where your tree was.
Yeah.
I
think he was. That's exactly, I believe, what was happening. He was coming in downwind and scent checking that whole line, and then he would J hook and then come in when he didn't smell me. It had to have been that, because it was too much of a coincidence that he would be there daylight every single time I wasn't there, and then 15 or 20 minutes after I was there religiously. Man. So it had to have worked out that way. And it was neat to see how that worked out. But here's where it gets kind of wonky.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there and I'm dropping the milkweed, and these does are coming in. I've got this little yearling that bedded underneath the tree I was in. Like my tree, this tree was no more than probably 6 inches in diameter, and it's pulling on this honeysuckle and these leaves, and I'm feeling it. And I'm in this tree and I'm looking down, and it ends up bedding underneath me for a little while. I actually got that on camera. You know how little yearlings act, like they're like little kids. They're jumping around and just having a good old time. So I'm watching this all unfold, and I'm trying to picture how this is all going to happen. Well, as the sun started setting and the temperature started cooling off, my thermals switched, and they started sucking down in this bottom where all these does were coming from. So all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I start hearing these does blowing, and I can't see where I had set the corn up. I couldn't see where that was at from where I was. It's probably, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 yards down into this bottom, but
Yeah.
that's where those does were coming to feed.
Yeah.
Well, my thermals were sucking right down in that bottom, and they were smelling me and they were blowing.
Yeah.
And I've tried to film, like I said, this whole process, and I had my Insta360 going. I filmed with my phone. I had my camera arm going, and I'm getting this footage. And these does start blowing at me. I'm like, well, shit, man, it's over.
Yeah.
So I sit down. I turn my camera off. I pull my face mask down, and I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself. And I look over, and there he is. And he had come right from where I thought he was going to come from. He had come from where he bedded, and he was coming, with the wind in his face, and he was there. And when I seen him, he was probably 30 yards to my right.
Yeah.
And I instantly, I knew it was him. I mean, it's just this massive rack, and he's just used just that calculated walk. And I'm like, holy shit, Yeah. So none of my cameras are going. I'm trying to film. And I said early on, I have this toxic trait. When the time comes, I black out.
Yeah.
And I never press record when it comes to. I filmed my son last year. He shot a 4-pointer. I didn't hit the record button. I got all this cool footage, and and I just black out. I just go kind of into autopilot.
Yeah.
So he comes in and he gets into my first shooting lane. He's 20 yards broadside. And how I'm sitting, I go to try to draw my bow back, and I can't get my bow I can't get it back.
Yeah.
So he hears me let down. He hears the arrow slide down, and he stops, and he's looking around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So he looks around and he starts walking again. So I stand up. In just one movement, I stood up, got the pin on him, and he had just stepped into that last just about to step out of that last shooting lane.
Yeah.
And luckily the arrow it flew true. I shoot an Arrows Anonymous arrow with the Lone Wolf arrowheads. Just amazing. I mean, it's so true. And it hit him, and it sounded like a sledgehammer hitting like a cardboard box. Yeah. I mean, it was one of those, when you hit a deer where you're supposed to hit it and it makes that noise, you just know instantly, like, I just smoked him.
Yeah.
Quartering away, 24 yards, complete pass through. And he just took off. So this bottom sets up, it's super thick. Like, you have to get down on your hands and knees to get into this lower section of woods.
Yeah.
And he just blows through that, and you hear him crashing.
Oh my gosh.
Just sound like a freight train running through the woods. And then you just hear this last crash, and then there was nothing.
Dead silence.
Dead silence. Yep.
Oh my, see, the doe, they were to your north, right?
They were to my south.
South. Okay. The south. So did he come from the south, or did
he came, I think he came from the north.
Okay. So he was,
I guess he came from the south, because there was a north wind, and then the wind was blowing from the north. So I think I said that wrong once before. But I think he came from the south.
Yeah, you said it right. I was just trying to figure out, because you said he came from the property that you said he was on. So do you think he just ignored your thermals at that?
Well, I think the thermals. So early on, the thermals were just off of his wind.
Yeah.
And I think when it switched, they were just blowing. I don't think he didn't act like he smelled me. I don't think he would have caught my thermals until he got down into that bottom.
See, there was one thing. So I had Derek Dixon on from the drone guy.
Yeah.
From and he said, in his one video, that when those thermals switch, or right as they're about to switch, the mature deer get up and start moving. So I wonder if that's true with this situation, where he got up and moved right before that thermal switch happened.
Yeah.
He didn't smell you when he was down below you. Didn't smell you down there because your thermals were pulling up. He never smelled you because of the wind. And then he was like, "Oh, it's clear. Well, I'm just going to head out here because thermal's about to switch, and I'll just be able to get right out there before these doe get out there and eat all the food."
Right. It was within probably 10 minutes of those does blowing at me
Yeah.
that he showed up.
Yeah. So he had to beat that thermal switch.
Yeah.
He
Well,
had
he came from the opposite way that the does were
Okay.
coming from. They were coming from that bottom. He was coming from the top.
Okay.
So throughout the day, the wind was blowing towards him. And those, like I said, the thermals were just kind of like just off of his path.
Yes.
To be honest, if he came from where my thermals were coming, he could have been walking right next to this guy's house. They were kind of pulling up, up towards that way.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. It was definitely within probably 10 or 15 minutes of that switch.
I also think that we get so worked up about doe blowing.
Yes.
I don't think buck care. I don't think buck necessarily care that does are blowing. Like does will blow. Like I've seen does blow at cats. Like just field cats. They just blow at them because they get so startled over anything.
I agree 100%. I talked to a guy about that very thing, and he said, Hank, that's just a deer's vocalization. That's how they're communicating. They blow at hundreds of things every single day. Predators, people, sounds, smells. It's just that's something that they do. That's how they are able to communicate. And he had to have heard those deer blowing.
Oh yeah.
There's no doubt. But yeah.
That's especially with 5 doe down below you blowing. Like, yeah, he had to.
Yeah.
He was like, well, they're not coming to the food, so I'm going to go there now.
Right. It was insane how it all unfolded.
That's awesome, dude. So we talked a lot about like the failures that led up to this and what you learned from those. But I wholeheartedly believe that even with a good harvest like this, there's still things you learn from this that you're like, I got to do this, or I got to change this up for next time to make sure it doesn't happen again. Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there what are some of those things that you've learned from like this harvest that you're like, okay, I got to change this up for next year?
Yeah. Number one being plan for that switch. Plan for have a backup plan or an idea on what's going to happen when that switch happens and if deer are coming from that area.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you fix that or how you plan for that, but that's something that the area that I had hunted before, I never really had that problem with the does blowing at me, because I think where I had sat before down in that bottom over the corn, when that switch happened, it just was blowing. The thermals were going in a different direction.
Yeah.
But they were definitely going to where he was at.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing I feel like if you don't take something away from everything that you do, like in like a harvest or a failure or even something that you did that you've had success with, like you got to keep learning.
Yeah.
Like, and that's good that you got that from that too.
Yeah. And I would say for me, so for years, like, I've always loved to hunt. I've always just enjoyed being in the woods, and I always try to be better. And like, why did I mess up, or how come I'm not killing big deer every single year? I would say the biggest thing for me is don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone. The easy way, the walking, the same trail, the same direction to the same tree stand every single time is comfortable. It's easy. You just pop up in a tree stand that's been there for 4 years and you hunt and you get down and you go back to the truck, and it's just easy.
Yep.
But if you want to hunt mature deer of that age caliber, no matter the size, you have to get out of your comfort zone. And that was the hardest thing for me. In the 2024 season, I set out to get out of my comfort zone. And I ultimately ended up back with what I knew, with what I had always done. And I was able to harvest a couple deer last year, but for me, it was just, you become complacent, you become lazy, and it just, it works, and there's a good chance that you might kill a deer. Well, if you want to kill more mature deer, just go with what's hard, because the reward is so much better.
Mhm.
And I try to instill that in my son. He's like, man, this mobile hunting stuff isn't as comfortable. Well, we're not there to be comfortable. We're there to
Mhm.
kill. So definitely, that's probably the biggest thing for me. The biggest learning for me was that, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna be uncomfortable.
Yep.
You're gonna have to work hard. I put hundreds of miles of just scouting and trying to learn this deer and shooting my bow, uh, 25, 35 arrows every single day in
Mhm.
different areas, different shot setups, to where I became so proficient with my setup. Like I had to stop shooting the same circle because I kept blowing arrows up.
Yeah.
But just, you have to prepare yourself in the off season
Mhm.
to be really good during the season.
Yeah.
Trail cameras are great. That's one thing that I did up until this year, is I hunted my cameras. If the deer weren't on the cameras, I
Mhm.
wasn't hunting.
Yep.
Well, you sit back for a year and you watch all these deer moving, and you're not worried about killing because you're after one specific deer. You
Mhm.
learn those deer, that they pattern those cameras just as much as they pattern us.
Oh yeah.
I would watch mature deer walk around cameras and
Mhm.
avoid them and never get them on camera. Or even sometimes they were in front of the camera and I never got a picture.
Yeah.
So that would be another thing. Don't hunt. Don't lie solely on your cameras. Don't hunt the
Mhm.
cameras. Get out there, man, and just put in the time.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's definitely one thing that I've learned too. Like this season, like last season, I had a ton of big buck on my cameras,
Mm-hmm.
and this year I go in there, there's like I only have small buck on my cameras. It's like there's no way in my mind. There's no way all these big buck are going out of this area.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have to reprogram your brain and be like, okay, just because it's not on camera doesn't mean they're not here. Like they are somewhere here in this big piece of timber.
Right.
You just have
All
to
you
go
need
out
is
and find
one
them.
or two. If they're there on your camera once or
Yeah.
twice,
Yep.
they're in that area.
Oh yeah.
And don't be afraid to get out there and make some mistakes, man.
Yep.
They're going to wind you. They're going to see you, but it makes you so much more of a better hunter to
Yep.
be able to get out there and just learn from those failures.
Yeah. And also it's kind of fun to mess up.
Yeah.
It's fun messing up. It's fun messing up, going in the woods, having a big buck jump when you're walking in the big woods, be like, I think I want to set up over here. You go set up and you jump big buck. It's like, okay, well that spot would have produced if I was there.
Right. Absolutely, man. And don't,
Yep.
even if you jump them, don't be afraid to set up on them.
Yeah.
There's, those mature ones, they're homebodies, man. They don't like to leave their core area. They'll
Yeah.
eventually be back.
Yeah.
And then you know where his bed is.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's one thing I'd love to do. Like that'd be fun to do, like a bump and dump.
Yeah.
That would be a fun one.
Yeah.
So where can people go? Follow you at, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. I saw you have a YouTube channel as well. I imagine you'll be posting some videos there.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I'm on the most is Instagram.
Okay.
You can follow us. It's Hank and Wyatt Outdoors on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. I'm not really a big editing guy, so we just kind of play around with that. My son's posted most of the videos that are on there. I am in the preliminary stages of preparing a really cool video on this hunt for this deer.
Okay.
It's just, there's so much footage,
Yeah.
trying to sift through it all and make it to where it's something interesting where somebody wants to watch it.
Right.
I was able to, my son, his mom brought him to where I harvested this deer, and we were actually able to find this deer together. He's actually the one that found it.
That's awesome.
So I got that all on video. So that was really cool. Very emotional. But I have a Facebook. It's Hank Gibson. It's more for family. So really, if you want to follow along on our hunting escapades, Hank and Wyatt Outdoors on Instagram is probably the best.
Cool, man. I appreciate you coming on here and having this honest conversation. Like it was a really good honest conversation at the very beginning too, and then telling the story about this big buck, man. Like I love big buck stories. I think that's my favorite part of doing this podcast is hear the big buck stories and how it all happened.
Yeah, man. It's you're blessed. I'm blessed. It's a cool, that's the thing that I've post harvesting this deer. when you chase one deer for 4 years, every day I woke up and I checked my trail camera, like, was he there? You know, and I constantly wondered, well, now he's gone.
Yeah.
And I get up every day and there's no Big Daddy on trail camera. So I don't know that I'll ever chase one specific deer again. I say that, you never know. But yeah, it's been a cool experience, man. And to be able to tell the story has been super cool. Cause like, I'm like, all this stuff is happening and people are, you know, reaching out and I'm like, man, I don't deserve this. Like, I'm just an average guy, you know, that loves and obsessed with hunting. And I've been blessed to be able to surround myself with some really awesome killers. So, you know, thanks again for letting me come on and tell it.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Absolutely. When you get the next big one on the 4 acres, we'll have you on again.
Right. Yeah. There's some bigger ones there, man. Not bigger, but we had a couple nice ones. So I'm excited. I got a tag in Kentucky, and southeastern Kentucky in the mountains. So there's some pretty nice deer down there. When we get back from Missouri, I'm going to head out there for a couple weeks and try to hunt the rut down there. Their rifle season aligns right in the middle of the rut. So I haven't decided if I'm going to use my bow or use a rifle. But I'm excited about that.
I can't wait to see what your son gets at Missouri, to be honest. Like that, I think that'll be a fun trip. I think that'll bring back the whole camp mentality. Hopefully he'll enjoy that and like get the whole camp mentality from that too. I mean, I think that's a big thing right there. And hopefully you can put down a good buck. Yeah,
I'm excited, man. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll definitely keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely.